Welcome to the live timing tutorial on how to set up live timing for a club day. This tutorial will just run through all the stages and steps that you need to go through to set up live time and to run a club day. So the first step is, once you're logged into your computer, just go to the LiveRC's software, double click the icon. You'll see the prompt start up. And you'll see the username and password will already be pre-populated. In this instance, we're showing that it's also successfully connected to the live time servers, and that's just because we have an internet connection set up. So we'll click login. That will log us in. In this instance, we're not going to update the software. You can expand out the software page, and this is the LiveRC scoring software. So the main thing to look at when you first get into the software is there are a number of tabs at the top of the menu, and effectively these tabs work from left to right. So we'll be working through the setup in each of these tabs to get through to setting up for qualifying and the racing. The first tab we're on at the moment is just the home tab, and there's not much to review in here. It's just showing the LiveRC web page that we've got. So you'll jump over that home page and go to the next tab, tracks. Now, because our LiveRC software is set up at the track at Pine Hills Dirt Racing, we only have one track. You may have a laptop and go to a number of different tracks, and this is the area where you would add in a number of tracks, and you can have already predefined settings for each track that you go to. But in this instance, we're just going to have the one track, and that's already set up. So you can skip this section and go to the next stage, which is classes. Again, this is already set up because we have the computer already defined for racing at Pine Hills. And these are all the current classes that we've created over the time. And if you do need to create additional classes, if another class is generated, for instance, we just had RC bikes started, so we've created a class in here. But all of these are set up, and you should be right to continue to the next tab. So what we'll do is click through to the events tab. Now you may see in here we've got a number of events listed, and they are between a date range. So if, for instance, you're in here and we'll just go back in time, so 1st of June, you're only seeing one event in here, then you just need to increase the date range. And what's most important in here, so I'll just take this out to the 1st of 2025, is we have a template file which is already set up. And you want to create a copy of this template, and that's what will build the club day off. So on that template, we'll click create a copy. Once you click create a copy, you'll see this new menu appear under the events tab. And the main section that we're looking at is the create events section. So what we'll do is we'll name the event, so you would call that club day, and then corresponding date. So for example, we're going to just use trial for this video, but you may put on 10th of May 2024, for instance, and then that will publish through to any information that gets broadcast to the LiveRC webpage. So we'll just go back to trial. You can adjust the dates that you've got here to the specific day that you've got. So you might be going for a full 2 days. And then the type will be qualifying to main. And all these other settings will be predefined from the template, so you won't need to worry about adjusting these. But this is just some of the additional information that you may want to adjust, whether it be IFMAR style or ABC style, that sort of thing. But once you've got those main items selected, we're just clicking save. Once it's saved, you'll now see that we've got Club Day trial created. Now, if you wanted to go back and review the events, you can click on change, and you'll now see Club Day trial is in that list that we've just created under the events, and we can go back into that by just double clicking it. Now, because in the template, these are the 4 classes that we had created. Now, you may know that you aren't going to be running a class. So for instance, EP Truggy, you can just put that into the available class list, and that removes it from the event that you've got planned. Now, you may also want to, for instance, bring in a beginner class. So all you need to do is just drag in that class from the available class list, and that will appear now in the event class. So these are all the specific classes that we've got running for the event. And in this instance, I'm just going to show us running 3 classes: IC Buggy, EP Buggy, and Beginner. Now in here, you'll also see some of the settings for each of those events. So if you know, for instance, so we can click into rounds under each of the class. So this is the IC Buggy rounds, and you've got practice, seeding, qualifying, and mains. Typically for a club day, we don't run seeding, we just run qualifying and mains. So I'll show the settings for qualifying, and this club meet, for instance, we're going to run a 5-minute qualifier. So 5-minute in race length. We're going to also check out some of the other important things. So number of drivers in a race. So if, for instance, you've got 20 drivers turn up, you can split it automatically when it gets into grouping the drivers by number of drivers. So we can say have 10 drivers. Now, if you wanted to change that to 5, that will say that there's only a maximum of 5 drivers that you can have in each of the heats. And then it'll split the drivers into respective groups based on that number. Then you can click through and see the main setup that we've got. Again, this is all coming from the default settings that we had when we set the template up. But in this instance, you can see that it's a heads up start, so that's a grid start. And then the main style is a letter main style. So we've got A mains, B mains, so on and so forth. And then you can specify the number of drivers and the race length of each of those mains as well. So if we wanted to, we could add a main length, add another main, and this, so you can see now, like if you know that you've got more drivers than the number of mains that we've needed here, then you can go in and add that main, and then also adjust the length of each of those mains in these settings. So if you go through and click on the class, you can check each of those classes. So again, you can adjust the race length and the number of drivers, and then the style of mains. And we always run ABC for our club days. Once you've checked all of those settings, then you can go through to the next tab up the top section. So we'll click through to drivers now. And this is where you'll do a call out for all the drivers to come to registration, or you'll review the online registration where people have already nominated through Facebook or whatever the live registration software you've used. So in this drivers section, we can search for the driver. Typically I would search for their last name, and then you can select the driver that you're wanting to register, and then you'll see those 3 classes that you've selected previously in the events tab will appear in here. You can click on which class you want them to register for. So I'm going to click on IC Buggy for Zach Ryan to be registered in. Now, if he comes to me and says that needs to run a different transponder, and that transponder is not in this list, then you can just type in that transponder number. So I'll just put in another transponder number that he's told me and then click add, and that will automatically go to primary in here. Alternatively, if that transponder is in the list, then you can select that transponder number and come down the bottom here and click set primary, and that will be the transponder that's registered for that class. Now, if he is wanting to run multiple classes, you can click on EP Buggy, and then you just need to tick on that registered to make sure that it appears in the schedule list going forward. Again, now if that transponder is not the number that he's running, you can delete that out and put in the new number that's in that car, and just make sure that that is set as primary. So that will be the primary number for EP Buggy, and then the IC Buggy, when you click on that, you'll see the transponder, which is primary for that class. So you'll go through all of the list now and select all the drivers and make sure that they have a transponder net number set as primary and all their classes are selected. Once all your drivers are selected, you'll also see when a driver is registered, you'll get the little trophy next to the driver's name. And then once all the drivers are selected, then you can move to the next tab. So in this instance, we're going to skip the practice tab and we're going to go over to the schedule tab. Once you're in the schedule tab, we want to create the next round. Now, the first thing that we're going to do in this instance is create a qualifying round, but you can choose other round types if that's what's required. But this first time, we're going to click qualifying round. And then these are all the classes that we've already pre-selected. Now, if you wanted to add another class, you can go back at any point in time, but you'll need to go all the way back to the events tab and bring that in. So for instance, if we wanted to bring in IC Truggy, you can bring that Truggy class back in. You would then obviously need to assign some drivers to that class and then click back into schedule and create round, and you'll now see IC Truggy appear in that class list. And we're going to just order randomly for the drivers, and all we need to do now is click generate. Now you've got the Q1 round created. and you can do some management in here. So if you want to, you'll see these are all the races that we've got selected, and you'll see you've got 2 heats of IC Buggy, and that was because we chose a minimum of 5 drivers that can go in a heat. Now, if you want to, you can review the drivers and drag them into a different class. So we've dragged Savage Sam from Heat 2 into Heat 1, and that's just to group the orders based on their ability, if you need to, or also if they're going to have some clashes. So you can see it'll flag orange if they're back-to-back on races, and that will prompt you to say that that person shouldn't be in that heat because they can't marshal straight after their race. So you can see now that I've dragged these drivers around and that there's no orange clashes, and that's because that's going to allow Zach Ryan to do his race, marshal, and then go to the EP race. Now you can also reorder this grouping here. So at the moment it's IC Buggy 1, 2, EP Buggy, Beginner, and then IC Truggy, and we might want IC Truggy first, for instance. So what we need to do here is go into the round management section and go reorder races, and then you will move IC Truggy to the top and click apply, and you'll see that the race numbers are reordered here, and then you can click save. Once you click save, it'll take you back to the race list, and then you see now that IC Truggy is moved to the very beginning of the race order. Another important thing is if you get to this stage and you also get another driver at turn up, then all you need to do is go again back to the drivers section, and we're going to add in another driver. So this person is going to go into Truggy. I've added them, but they don't have a transponder number, so I'll add another transponder in for them. And then I'll go back to schedule and then click on the drivers on the left hand side, and you'll see that Daniel Austin has now appeared under IC Truggy. And all I need to do is drag them into that list, and they'll appear. That's effectively all the setup that you need to do in here. One other thing is handy to check is the timetable, and this just shows you that we've got automatic countdowns between races, but again this will be set from the default and you won't need to do any adjustment to that. So once you've done that and you're happy with the order of that, you can click on reports, and you can view the lineup in the reports here, and you can print that race list and put it up on the board for all the drivers to review, see what heat they're in. Alternatively, all of this stuff does get posted to the LiveRC webpage. So this is a good time to check in the right-hand side section of your window. The two important things to look at is the decoders and the live race media broadcast. So the decoder is just screen to show that there's a signal from the decoder to the computer system and the software is registering the decoder. And then the second is the live race media. So you can turn on live time broadcasting if it's not green. So we'll turn that on. And then when we go back to schedule, so this is all ready to go, we can click through to racing, and you'll see now that we've got an automatic countdown to the start of the race happening here, and the first race is IC Truggy, and we can pause that race at any point in time by using these buttons down the bottom. So you've got pause race, fast forward 10 seconds, fast forward 1 minute, or rewind 10 seconds. So you can see there, once I've clicked that button, we've added another 10 seconds to the countdown. So we'll just pause this race at the moment. So this is a good stage if you've got everything set up in your schedule, you've started it, and then you want to do your driver's briefing. And you can also check the LiveRC webpage. Go to Google and go to liverc.com. And in this instance, we're going to go to Pine Hills Dirt Racing. So you can search for Pine Hills in the search tab, and there's Pine Hills Dirt Racing. And you can see it's got a flag to show that it's broadcasting to that. And we'll click through to the race results section. And then you can see you've got Club Day Trial. Now, if that doesn't come up, you can view results from other events, but typically it'll always be on the current live broadcasting event. And there's all the events that we've got. So we're broadcasting the Club Day Trial. We'll click on that, and then you can review the race lineup and entry list by clicking on the qualifying round 1, and there is all of the scheduled event heat listing that we've created in the LiveRC schedule in here. So this will be all live broadcast. So as soon as that's done, you can click through to here, click pause, and then announce to the drivers that the heats are posted on LiveRC, and then all the drivers in the pits can jump onto LiveRC, click through to results, and then check out the race lineup and events list for Q1, and they can see which heat they're in and get their cars ready to go. Once we're ready to go and we've had our drivers briefing, then we're good to start the race. You'll see all you need to do is click play and it'll start to count down. And then these two drivers who are in the first race. Now both of them are currently red, and that's because they haven't checked in. So what will happen when they first start is all the drivers will be red, and that just means that they haven't crossed the loop and their transponder number is not registered. So this is just a good prompt at the start of the race just to make sure that all your drivers' transponder numbers are registered correctly, and they'll all go white when they cross the loop, and are all checked in. And then just as a race director, it's good to just make sure that all the drivers are white, and that means that all the transponders and all the cars are registered and ready to go.